Hi, I am Saturday type of sex, not Sunday sex.
Wow, and I'm Marcy.
And we are the
Oh, now
Watchers
hard.
in the Basement. Watchers in the Basement. What's up, guys? We are here for episode 7, 8, and 9 of Landman season 1. That sex line was from episode 8 between Tommy and his lovely wife. But we've been gone for the last couple weeks, but now we're gonna uh, get together the last 3 episodes prior to the finale that comes out this Sunday. So, Marcy, so much has happened in these 3 episodes, man.
So
What
much
are
has
your thoughts?
happened.
Yeah, what are your thoughts in general? Like just so far, what we've
Um,
seen in the last 3 weeks.
Hot mess is still hot mess in. Um, we needed more John Hamm and we need more Demi Moore. I feel like they've been terribly underused in this show, or what I expected. I expected there to be more of Monty and Cammy than there has been.
Hmm.
So I think those are just kind of like my main thoughts. And then also, come on, Taylor, like how much do we need to focus on the 17-year-old sex life? And I don't it just gets a little creepy after a while, especially like the last storyline, I think in episode 8 or 9 with the strip club and wanting to get the boyfriend to strip for the old people. I hope he's over 18 because otherwise that's kind of creepy. So Taylor, what are you doing?
I think Taylor is manifesting some of his deepest, darkest desires through these characters on this show. It's weird, man. It's weird. Like I was hoping to see some type of like character development with Ansley. You kind of see it with Angela a little bit, but particularly with Ansley, it's weird to like extrapolate like what a 17-year-old hot in the pants teenager looks like. And I don't know how this serves the story of like oil and gas. Like I don't get it. It's weird. It's not germane to the story at all. And as good as the show has been, that's the one part of the show that just doesn't seem to fit. And I mean, in some respects, I can appreciate the I simultaneously appreciate and loathe the relationship between Tommy and Ainsley, father and daughter. I appreciate it because it looks like Tommy is trying to make up for lost time and he's trying to connect with his daughter on multiple levels. I loathe it because I feel like, and look, I have no kids. I'm not a father. I don't. I mean, I'm a godfather and uncle. That's probably the closest I'll probably ever be to being a parent, right? But if I was to have a daughter, I would not want the kind of relationship that Tommy has with his daughter. I think the openness dialogue of like sex and like her just being so open with that and like what she does and like and just it's just too much. It's too much. I don't understand it, and I guess it shows. It kind of shows in a way, whether it's directly or indirectly, of what it looks like for a young girl not to have her father in the picture for the duration of her adolescence. And when you have a mother like Angela, who's a grown up teenager in her own right, it you see the result of like a father not in the home and a mother who is the type of mother that Angela is. But for me, I don't need to see 9 episodes of like an immature, hot in the pants teenager. I don't need to see all that. Like one episode is fine. Like just give me understanding. Episode one, okay. Oh, teen bopper teenager who's hot in the pants, who doesn't want to, who wants to be with her father, and it's a free spirit. Cool.
Mhm.
I only 9 weeks of that though.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Being a daughter, I mean, I appreciate the openness, right? Like my dad and I definitely don't have that kind of relationship. But I think some parts is kind of like too open where you're like, really? You're like, are you really gonna be telling your dad all of this? I think like it would be great to see like a finer line than there is. But again, like I think it's just the times that we are in now. If she wasn't underage, I think it would be like, okay, whatever. But it's just, I don't know, it's too much. Like they keep hampering on like how she's 17 and she's underage. And I think nowadays, maybe like when we were growing up and like watching that on TV, we'd be like, whatever. But I don't know. I think now, older and wiser, and just being like, it's a little bit icky that they're kind of how much they play up how she is underage. And I don't need to be that invested in 17-year-old sex life. And I want more of like the actual Landman story. Like, I think if we took out so much of Angela and Ainsley and put more of like Tommy and Monty and maybe like Cammy and more of like how they run the company as well as how they're like kind of running everything in Midland, I think that would have been like a really interesting story as well.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree. If you're gonna stay with this route of the daughter, then show development of like a positive impact of how Tommy's back in the picture, and now you see a positive influence on Ainsley as far as like the wild teenage spirit that a 17-year-old girl has. You see more maturity by proxy of Tommy just being around and like
Mhm.
wanting to parent her daughter, parent his daughter. If I saw the slowly incremental development of that character from the maturity standpoint, then okay, I get it. But like
Mhm.
you're not seeing that. If anything, it's eroding and getting worse. And then some of the creepier moments, man, is just some of the advice that Angela gives her daughter. Like episode 7, they're on this, I think the stairmaster or the elliptical, and she's like, "Look, Angela tells her 17-year-old daughter. Angela tells her, I never work. I never plan to work. How you take care of a man is take care of him, throw him the occasional blowjob, and you never have to work." Who tells their daughter that? Like, I don't. That boggles my mind. And again, with the writing with both women, it's you're just wasting space. But then you have an Academy nominated award actress and Demi Moore, who is not getting any lines, who's not getting any scenes, but you want to give the daughter and Ali Larter, who don't get me wrong, I love Ali Larter. She was great. Heroes. She's a great actress. And but the dumbing down of this role and like the lack of growth over the last 9 episodes has been stagnated and kind of weird for me. And I don't know where you go with season 2 with the daughter and the mother, but I hope we see a huge jump moving forward for those two characters.
Yeah, I mean, some mothers and daughters are open like that, and like that's cool. I unfortunately have to work, so that advice is lost on me. But yeah, I again, like she's 17, like whatever. You don't expect her to like be mature. Like she's 17. We were all stupid when we were 17. We were all just dumb kids. But I don't know, like for Angela, I would want more again because it's nothing against Ali Larter. I think she could do great if Taylor Sheridan wrote better parts for women. Like that's the problem. It's not the actresses, it's what they are given to act with that it's kind of the problem. I think they can make them more interesting, which I think is what he tried to do with like the whole retirement community storyline. But even then, I'm like, oh my gosh, hit and a miss for me. But
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about Monty. As we watch these last few episodes, we get a better idea of like his origin story and how he struck big in the oil business and his shrewd business acumen, and how he conducts his business. And you kind of see John Hamm's character a little bit in episode 7. He's talking to, I guess, a former business partner or a colleague by the name of Diamond, and Diamond is proposing this idea of he has all these wells on his land. I believe I wrote it down because it was just a lot of like oil talk that I just didn't quite understand. But he has 300 wells, producing 300 barrels, I believe, a day or maybe a month, who knows? But pretty much Diamond doesn't have the liquid to proceed and like extrapolate that money and get more out of his wells, and he can't go to a bank because he doesn't have the money to front for a loan. So he asked Monty if he can help out, and he'll give Monty a deal, a
Mhm.
60-40 split, as far as the profiting of fracking and pump jacking the bare lands of trying to get whatever oil is left out of that land. Um, I learned a lot about the oil business. I even did research and like read up on it, and I didn't. I thought once a land is dry, it's just dry. But like I
Mhm.
mean, but you can frack it, you can horizontally dig and just find pockets of oil just throughout the land. But to make a long story short, Monty says I want a 65-35 split. He also says that he calls Tommy. He wants another workover crew, another few workover crews. But
Mhm.
the kicker is that land is pretty much cartel territory. A lot of cartel, a lot of like mischief goes on in that land. And Tommy let Monty knows about it, and Monty's like, "Look, man, fuck it, let's get it." Gets on the phone with Tommy. Tommy, I'm down for it, but here's the meat and potatoes. I get 100%, 100% till I recoup. He gets 7% over the next 12 months. After that, and 65% in perpetuity. I can never say that word. Perpetuity, pretty much forever. And I'm like,
Ever.
goddamn, sounds like a goddamn. That sounds like a deal of the century. What was your take on that? Watching that deal be put in place, and did that give you more of an idea of who Monty is as a man?
A little bit, and I've been rewatching Mad Men, so I'm kind of in like a Johnny. I'm like, he's living rent free in my mind just because I've been binging Mad Men again. Which I'm like, again, I would have liked to have seen more of Monty in the series again, like learn more about the deals, learn again more of his backstory, how he started off. Because I know Tommy like mentioned both that like Monty like hustled just like Tommy did, but then he also said like he like had like some family money to fall back on. So it's kind of like a bootstraps type of story, but also like he had like a backup if things didn't go his way. So it would have been interesting to learn more about that and just to see them use the Monty character more than we got, because I I think that's it for Monty if we go off of what happened in episode 9.
Yeah, it's. Let's talk about it. I mean, it looks like in episode 9, he has another heart attack. It's like his third or fourth triple
Fifth.
bypass surgery. Oh, it's fifth. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's fifth triple bypass surgery. Um, and it's sad. Like I guess it's kind of like symbolism of like the stress. He's a billionaire, many times over, but it just shows you the stress the toll it takes on you running an oil business and being the head honcho. And he lives for this. And his wife,
Mhm.
Cammy, played by Demi, kept warning him like, look, man, like this is gonna kill you. Like you gotta relax. It seemed like everybody's warned him. Tommy,
Mhm.
Cammy, and we get a in episode 9 we get a special cameo by one Jerry Jones. And I must say, man, he might have been the highlight of that episode. Like he that 80-year-old was acting his ass off, and for his acting debut, I got emotional, but I forgot that he was Jerry Jones for a second. Like just speaking on the
Mhm.
emotions of like, and he's trying to put Monty on game. Like, look, man, like this oil business ain't for the weak. But at the same time, man, you gotta keep in mind what's more important, and that's family. And Jerry Jones goes into a diatribe of like, what it took for him to get here, and the success that he has as a businessman did not was all attributed to his family. Starting with being away, his daughter going away to college in Stanford, and him trying to find a reason just to be around his daughter by moving the Northern California, buying land, and that land had oil, and it boomed, and that money he used to buy the Cowboys. But what I took from that was that it seemed like Monty and Jerry have a very long-standing relationship because
Mhm.
that story that he told Monty was kind of like a last stand. Like, look, man, you gotta get your shit together.
Yeah.
You are killing yourself, and you can surround yourself with businessmen and partners and all of that. But at the end of the day, we do this for our family. We do this because we want to leave something for the generation. And do you want to be surrounded by businessmen and partners, or do you want to be surrounded by your family and not just during Christmas and Thanksgiving? And I thought
Mhm.
that was a really well written scene for Jerry. And then you see Jerry getting emotional as well.
Yeah.
Talking to Monty, you see Monty getting emotional as well as Tommy walks in. What was your thoughts on that scene, man? And first off, what was your thoughts about Jerry's performance? And then what was your thoughts about what Jerry had to say to Monty?
Yeah. So I don't know if like they had said that he was gonna guest star on it. I hadn't read anything. So when I first saw him pop up, Cammy's like Jerry's in with him. I just assumed like Jerry's like a family friend, the doctor, because she talked about like Jerry's probably in there giving him an earful or something. So I was like, oh, like maybe Jerry's his cardiologist. And then we see it's Jerry Jones, and it's like, wow, I was not expecting this. And in Dallas, Jerry Jones is a very polarizing figure. You either love Jerry Jones, which is probably like 10 people, or you hate Jerry Jones, or you don't care about Jerry Jones and you just like to make fun of Jerry and the Cowboys. I'm just kind of like, whatever. So I was like, okay, Jerry. And then, he talks about the story. It's very heartwarming, but he's talking about basically like, I created my company so all my kids could like work with me, which is kind of like nepotism can work. Like, like you made it work for you. Way to go, Jerry. Like you did it so you could spend time with your family. But yeah, like he got emotional and I don't know how much of that was acting and how much of it was like actually Jerry like having those feelings because it seems like that was pretty much Jerry's story, right? It didn't seem like it was anything Taylor made up for the show. Um, so I was like, wow, like interesting choice of a guest star. He did a pretty good job, right? It could have been like worse and it could have seemed like he was just like reading lines off a teleprompter or, messing up. So I think he did a good job. I think like the message resonated to both Monty and then Tommy who was in there. Um but it was sad at the end when Monty asked Tommy like, "Hey, are my daughters out there?" And Tommy's just kind of like he didn't say anything, but Monty knew that they weren't. So, yeah, that was sad because I think that was Monty's realization of maybe, and we don't know like how much attention Monty has paid to his family. Like we haven't seen enough of him. We saw his daughters in one episode where he talked about like, I encouraged my daughter to go to TCU to go to college close to me. That way, like they could live at home. If they want to party, they could just party here. So obviously like you get the feeling that he cares about his daughters and loves them and he goes to the track meet of one of his daughters but like in the end maybe he also spent a lot of time building his business and maybe not being there a lot so his daughters weren't there and yeah like that pretty sad to me when he realizes like nope nobody's out there it's just Cammy and so yeah.
Yeah, I mean and it's you don't notice when Jerry's talking about it, it's like Monty's listening like fuck man, I gotta do better. But it looks like the way I took it was like maybe it's too late. Like
Mhm.
because like there's multiple scenes of him in the hospital and like the daughter's nowhere to be found. Cam's in the waiting room, but the daughter's
Yeah.
nowhere to be found. So I wonder had the damage been done. Maybe he missed one too many recitals. Maybe he missed one too many track meets. Maybe if he was there, maybe he just wasn't present. I mean, the one
Yeah.
episode where we see Monty at his daughter's track meet, he's not present. He's on the phone. He's like
Yeah.
he's trying to get business done, and I think as a parent, it's tough because growing up in a single parent household, my mom sacrificed everything, and when you're a child, you don't understand what your parents sacrificed. All you see in the media is that, well, mom's not here at my basketball game, or dad's not here at my
Yeah.
karate competitions, but you don't understand what they're sacrificing to put food on the table and to produce to make sure that you have lights on at the house, to make sure you have night clothes and things of that nature. So it looks like Monty was a very ambitious man who wanted the best for not for himself or for his family, but look, he sacrificed, that valuable family time. And while Jerry's talking, and this is why I'm so impressed with Jerry's performance, because while he's talking and and trying to put Monty on game about what's important in life, it looks like Jerry is staring down at his own mortality, and as he has more years behind him than in front of him. And I took him being emotional and teary eyed as fuck. Like I put my life's work into this oil shit, into being a businessman, and that doesn't make that. Yeah, I'm a billionaire, but what makes me rich is that the love and the support that I have for my family. That's what makes me a wealthy man, not the amount of dollars in my pocket. And I think Jerry getting emotional, I think is him realizing his own mortality, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just hilarious just because people hate on Jerry Jones so much that I'm just kind of like, I'm sure some people were like, yeah, Jerry, you're next, which is terrible. But, I like how he talked about, like, I'm proud of the work that we did with the Cowboys because he's a ride or die, right? Like, I respect that because living in Dallas your whole life, you remember how great the Cowboys were in the 90s, in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, and then hasn't been great ever since. So I'm glad that he's proud of everything that the Cowboys have done.
Right. Let's talk about Ariana and Cooper. So as episode 7 opens up, Cooper is now being released from the hospital, and I'm thinking he's gonna go stay with Tommy and his mom.
And his mom, yeah.
Yeah, Ariana to the rescue. Ariana is there waiting for him to get discharged, and he gets picked up, and Tommy's there, and Ariana's like, "No, I got it. I'll bring him to my house, or whatever." And you see the budding of a loving a love between the two. I must say, I was not for it. I was against it. I called him John Smith and her Pocahontas. I didn't like it at all. I hated it. But again, as the story develops, you see, as bad as it looks, the aesthetics is terrible. Like fall in love and like laying your head on the man's bed that died just a few weeks prior in an explosion that you worked on his crew with doesn't look good. It doesn't look good at all. But as you watch and you see Cooper and who he is and his makeup, and he's a good dude. Like he's a morally centered dude. Like even episode 5 when he's going over to her house, Ariana's house, and doing the yard and cutting the shrooms and helping her organize her bills. He's doing it he's not doing it to be appreciated. He's doing it because he sees somebody in need. Yep. And as you watch that character, you see that, damn, how can Tommy and Angela have this crazy ass young daughter who's wild as fuck, and then you have this morally centered young man. And not to say that Ainsley is not morally centered. She seems like a good kid too. She's just a wild as hell. But you have this mature, morally centered, giving young man who just wants to do the right thing all the time. He gives me Jon Snow vibes, and I must say I was against the whole love interest between the two. But the story writing between them, I'm now rooting for them. Where are you at now in the relationship between Ariana and Cooper?
Yes, I agree with you. Like he seems like a great guy, right? And like you said, how did he come from like Tommy and Angela? And I wonder how much of that is the influence of Victor, who is like the stepfather that like we never meet, but apparently like cares about them and is still going to pay for like Ainsley's child support. So it's kind of like maybe like Victor is like a nice, cool guy. I'm still kind of torn because in the last couple episodes, it's just gotten way too hallmarky to where it's like, just the dialogue between them. It's like, I wasn't expecting to fall in love with you so quickly after my husband died, but he never looked at me the way you look at me. And like all of this, like, when she asked him, like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm planning for our future. And she's like, our future? Like, we've only had 2 kisses and you're already planning for our future. And I'm just kind of like, I love Hallmark.
It's been 3 kisses. The first one counts.
Oh, yeah. You're right. 3 kisses. So I'm like, I love Hallmark movies. I love all of that. But I'm just kind of like, Taylor, what are you doing? Like, it got, like, it's very cheesy at this point. So I'm just kind of like, okay, she is grieving. So there's probably like some kind of trauma bond.
Yeah.
So maybe not like the greatest foundation for a relationship, but go for it, right? Like, you're young. If you find something else and something that's going to fill the void in your heart, go for it. But just be careful because, at some point you might just realize that that's the attraction, what that was. It's kind of like he's just here to fill the void and maybe I don't really love him. But it got a little too cheesy for me. And I just hope that nobody else tries to beat him up for it or tries to like make her feel bad about it. I don't think people should do that. Like, if that's what she chooses to do, she is a grown up. Like, don't make her feel bad about it. But and she was able to stand up to Tommy about that, right? Like when he showed up for dinner and he's like kind of wondering, and she got the vibe that he's there to judge or there to like discourage, and she's like, no, you don't get to judge me. And Tommy just kind of like understood. And I like what he told her. He was like, if anybody deserves for it to work out, it's definitely you. So that he also like wants the best for both of them, whether that's them being together or not being together. I think he's trying to impart that wisdom to Cooper on like, hey, she's grieving. You gotta like not push too hard, but we'll see what happens. And also he said like, I'm gonna take this money. Did he mean like her settlement money, or like does he have his own money? Because it's like, why are you taking her settlement money? That was my question. I was like, whose money are you using for like to build up your new business?
So that's what I took it as. I took it as her money.
Yeah.
Like, and I think hopefully they explain this more on screen. But it looks like when Cooper besses Rebecca in that conversation about how much money the family should be awarded, and we'll we can talk about that right now. But it looks like when he bested her and they agreed to the $1 million per family, it looked like they wanted to celebrate, like Ariana and Cooper. But Ariana, she's still grieving. She just she's still trying to figure out what's going on, how she feels emotionally. But I took it as I don't see Cooper moving out that house. I think they're playing house. I think that's their long-term plan, even though it hasn't been explicitly said until episode 9 when Cooper's saying our future. I think he's talking about the money that Ariana got rewarded. Now, if that was anybody else on the show, I would have been very skeptical of their motives. But with Cooper, I feel like Cooper, whatever moves he's thinking about, they come off as moves that are shrewd and low risk, high reward. Because even in the breakdown, when he's showing the map of like all the different regions of the Permian Basin and like what places have been overly fracked and what places might have pockets of oil, and like he's giving the breakdown of like how to horizontally dig and like all that kind of stuff. I'm saying to myself, damn, motherfucker, he did his research. He was like really breaking it down, and I think he's trying to, because going into this episode, he has dreams of like owning his own oil company one day, and it looks like he's on the right track. Let's talk about Rebecca and Cooper and Ariana. So in episode, I want to say 7, they talk of Rebecca and Nathan show up to Ariana's house. Unbeknownst to them, Cooper is there still recuperating from the beatdown, and they come to have her sign the paperwork to take the. I want to say was it 400,000 originally, and I think
250,000.
250,000.
Yeah, was the settlement.
Okay, but in one episode, Rebecca was saying to Nathan, if they push back, they will go as high as 600,000.
I don't remember, but yeah, like the
Okay.
initial was like the 250,000.
Okay. So Rebecca and Nathan come over to Ariana's house to pretty much present the check, but have Ariana sign off on it. Unbeknownst to Rebecca and Nathan, Cooper's there, and mind you, Rebecca's been looking for Cooper for the last few weeks, trying to get a statement out of him to understand what happened at the explosion in episode 1, because she said never talked to him, had no idea where she was at. So it looks aesthetically, of course, it looks bad. Like having the guy that the widow's worm co-worker living inside the widow's house of the guy that died. But she finds out that they've been playing house. She pretty much low-key threatens him, like, hey, this doesn't look good for you. You know what I'm saying? Just letting you know. And if I was you better make err on a sign. If not, I have no problem coming after you. And it's not about what the truth is. I can make any truth I want. Pretty much what she told Cooper, as far as how much trouble he could potentially be in. And again, Cooper showing his character, man, like a G. Anybody that would hear the word lawsuit, potentially get in trouble, would have backed off and took a step back and left. Cooper not only stood his ground, but when it came time for Ariana to sign to receive her check, Cooper's like, nah, fuck that. We don't want 250,000. We want $1 million.
Yeah.
And Rebecca and Nathan, they're shocked because nobody ever countersues or negotiates without a lawyer. At least they don't know. And Cooper pretty much says, you came here this morning. Y'all know damn well y'all don't have a leg to stand on. Y'all know damn well y'all don't have a strong case. Y'all know damn well those oil rigs, those wells have not been properly worked over, looked at. They probably won't pass OSHA. They probably gonna have plenty of OSHA violations. Safety. If Ariana wants, she can put an environmental claim on behalf of her family and her husband on the wrongful death claim. Pretty much saying all the safety protocols are probably all questionable, and we want $1 million. If not, we can go to court and get way more. Rebecca, knowing that, she kind of just caves. She gets spanked by a 22-year-old Texas Tech dropout, and Nathan calls Monty and pretty much tells Monty what happened. What were your thoughts on that? And did it give you more intel of who Cooper is? Did you learn more about Cooper in that scene with the back and forth for Rebecca?
Yeah, like you said, he's 22, but he's obviously he's not a stupid kid. He's a thoughtful kid. He's smart. He kind of knows what's up, not only with the geology and the oil fields and the business, but also has some knowledge of settlements and finances. And so it was good to see that because you learn more about Cooper, but you also learned a lot about Rebecca. She's great. And when she was defending Tommy and the company, but she was a real bitch, dealing with Ariana and Cooper. And it's hey, her husband just died. And we know that you're trying to do your job to protect the company, but damn, bitch. And so I thought it was way too easy how Cooper was able to counter offer and I guess out negotiate them. And then Nathan, I love that he was just I'm not even going to fight. I'm just going to call Monty and be hey, this is what it is. Can we approve it? So I like him. But she got outsmarted by Cooper, and that didn't make Monty happy, and that added to his stress. It was already just building and building and building, which is why it was interesting what he said later to Tommy in the hospital room. She's a shrewd negotiator and all this stuff. And I'm you just got mad at her for getting bested by this 22-year-old kid. Okay.
I mean, I get it for Monty. No billionaire wants to lose. No matter how big, no matter how small, they thrive on winning. That's just how they are. I will say this though, which I find kind of weird. Rebecca's a litigation lawyer. Like she's
Mhm.
litigation. She finds her job is to find causality, right? Like to find cause, to find fault. Why are you still having her on the case, and why will Monty hire her to work with on side by side with Nathan as an oil and gas person when that's not really her lane? She knows nothing about oil and gas. Hell, the crash course of oil and gas she got from Tommy when they went to the oil rig, and like she was showing Tommy was showing her like the causality of like the pump jack and what could have happened, and she knew nothing prior to that. So I'm like, why would Monty hire her? Is it because she's ambitious, she's shrewd, and like does he have just this undoubted belief that she can just pick up the trade of oil and gas and learn on the fly and become like this monster negotiator alongside with Nathan? And I feel like you already have Nathan. Like, why would you? Do you think Nathan can't do the job? Do you think? I mean, why would you? That didn't make any sense to me. I don't. Could you give insight on that? Why he will bring Rebecca on full time? I guess.
I think because Taylor wants her in season 2 and wants the season 2, and like she's really fun to watch. Um, but from the perspective of the story, one, like Monty's sitting in the hospital after his third bypass, after his fifth heart attack. So he may not even like be thinking clearly. And he is right. Like she's shrewd, she's like a good lawyer, but again, like Tommy mentioned, like Nate mentioned, like that is not her area of expertise. Like,
Yeah.
why does she need to be the VP of like oil exploration? Um, so again, like maybe he like really sees her potential, which is great. I love that. Maybe he also sees that a lot of men are probably going to underestimate her, which
Mm.
will then help her get the upper hand in negotiations because they don't expect her to be as good as she is and as shrewd as she is. So like it could also be that. Um, yeah, I mean she's just more fun to watch than Nathan is. So of course you want her to be in that so we can keep watching her next season. But I also think it would be like that dynamic is interesting, like the Nathan and Rebecca dynamic, where she's all like just kind of like abrasive, and he's just kind of like always having to pull her back and, be like the voice of reason, even when, they've gotten Ariana to sign the new settlement with the $1 million and sign the NDA. And she's like, pretty much like saying, I hope it all works out for you. Like, I wish you the best in your next endeavors. And like, Cooper's like, I don't know what that means. And I'm like, Cooper, how do you not know what that means? Like, you knew like all these other things, but you don't know what it means when somebody says, I wish you luck on your future endeavors.
Did,
Um,
did,
and
did he say that as if like he was saying it tongue in cheek? Like, what do you mean by that? Like,
to me, it sounded like he really didn't know. And then she's like,
mm.
that means fuck you. So and then, Nate's like, Rebecca. So that's an interesting dynamic. So if we get a season 2 and we have Rebecca as the VP, I definitely hope that we also have Nate to like balance her.
Yeah, I struggle. I've struggled with Rebecca the last couple of weeks. I really have because I really liked her a lot, especially when she came to bat for Tommy in that deposition case and like going like the settlement case, pretty much wiping the floor of the opposition with the cartel helicopter, I mean
Mhm.
cartel airplane truck shit. I struggle with her character right now because she displayed this human side early on in the season and became this cold monster. Like, and I get it. Like when it comes to like wrongful death claims, I get it with lawyers. Like they're doing their job. But even when you saw with Nathan, he still showed that human element, like of like, look, I'm sorry for your loss. I know it's a trying time for you, but we're trying to do whatever we can. Even if it came off as like protocol for Nathan, but Nathan still showed that human element of like, look, I get it. This is a fucked up situation. We're trying to make the best of it. It seemed like with Rebecca, she took it so personal when she got bested by Cooper to where like she lost her. she lost her humanity in the situation of like what these families are actually going through.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say I hate her, but it made me lose a lot of like for her in that moment. Um, do you think the humanity that she showed early in the season will that come back? You think, or we're gonna get this cold, bitter lawyer moving forward going into season 2 for Rebecca?
Yeah, that's interesting because I think more of like her just being like a cold-hearted bitch. I think maybe she has to be again because you said like that is her job, right? Like you can't be overly soft again because men are gonna because we saw this right in the scene where she's negotiating in the deposition, right? Like they wanted to underestimate her. So especially like being a lawyer, like you I think when you are a woman, you're always expected to be like nice and kind and warm, and
Yeah.
that's great and nurturing, right? And if you're not, then like you're a cold-hearted bitch. Like I don't know how much of that is like her personality, just like her just not caring about the families as much and just wanting to make sure that the company was protected, or how much of it like that's what she has to put out into the world so people don't underestimate her. So I don't know. That's a good question because again, like I thought like once she had protected Tommy and the company and we're like, okay, like she's gonna be cool. Then like the next episode is where she goes to the families and like it's like, oh, you're only gonna get $250,000 and you have to like sign these contracts and you have to all sign or else, none of you get it. And then like again, her following up and going back to Ariana to get her to sign. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it'll be a mix just because she's human and we're all just kind of like flawed. We're not all just like nice and kind all the time or icy and cold all the time. And, you know,
Yeah, I mean, we may see some wars between her and Tommy moving forward because even episode 8, like when Rebecca calls Tommy to come to a bar to talk to him about what happened, what transpired,
Mhm.
it pretty much threatened Tommy, like, look, your son aesthetically doesn't look good. It looks like he's set up for that crew to die so he can
Yeah.
be closer to Ariana. And Tommy took offense to that, as he should. That's his son.
Mhm.
And he pretty much threatened Rebecca right back. And then kicked the chair off under her, like, man, don't come for me or my son, or I'm coming for you. And that was episode 8. And then you fast forward to episode 9 where Monty's like essentially on his deathbed saying, look, I'm gonna hire her. I need you and her to work together uh, to one common goal. And I wonder for Monty if he knew that the end was near, and so he's trying to put the best pieces at the top of the ladder to make sure uh, MTEX stays
Mhm.
afloat. And the best, I mean, we know Tommy, one of the best land, like the governor knows who Tommy is. Jerry Jones knows who Tommy is. So we know Tommy does his job at a high level. And we know Rebecca's a pit bull when it comes to this lawyer shit. So probably Monty's probably like, man, if I don't make it, man, I want the best of the best man in the helm.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably what it was. But is she the best of the best or was she just good in the situation? Because
True.
could have been like other awesome lawyers that do have more experience in oil and gas. So, um, again, I like you said, I think he might have known the end was near and was just kind of making decisions for the decisions to be made. Maybe not so much like the best decisions, but like, hey, I've got to like get this done in case something happens. And something did happen, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about it. Let's chop it up. So episode 9, Monty is back to Monty in his hospital bed. It's late at night. Again, I don't know how a billionaire does not have like a nurse just waiting hand and foot on him. But
Yeah.
he has another heart attack. It looks like he's hitting the panic button, and nobody's coming to the room. And then it skips to the next scene where Tommy gets a call from I think Cammy, and you
Uh-huh.
don't know what Cammy says, but he's like, "What can I do for you? I'm here. Whatever you
Yeah.
need." It's to suggest that John Hamm is dead. Is that kind of am I kind of on par with that?
That's what I'm guessing. Like he said, I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do? Like we see a little bit of emotion from Tommy, but not a lot. And then we see something that we also see in Yellowstone that I was like, Taylor, what are you doing? Tommy sees a wolf, which, you know, I guess he's in his Casey Dutton era, just seeing wolves. So I took that to maybe signify like it's not John Hamm. It's Monty like saying goodbye to his friend. I don't know what the symbolism that Taylor wanted to use with that wolf, or like, you know, just the wolf in Yellowstone is symbolized like bad things are gonna happen, or like a time of change when like Casey sees it. So yeah, like we are meant to, I guess, assume that Monty has died alone in his hospital. Not even Cammy was there. It might have been like late at night. She might have gone home to rest, or maybe she was, you know, taking a little bit of a break. But that was pretty sad again, because you said like his little monitor starts going off and then he's trying to push the button, and like you would think he would be in some kind of ICU or something to where like a nurse would know like that his monitor off, but we don't see anybody go in there. It's just him just kind of knowing probably that this is the end and nobody's coming to help you.
Well, what's crazy, and maybe I just didn't read the room that well, Marcy, but I didn't think that he was on his deathbed. I thought it was just another setback, and like he had another bypass surgery. He's going to be on the mend for a few weeks, and then he'll be back at it. He's going to put Tommy and Rebecca in charge so he gets better. You know, Tommy is telling Cammy, "Hey man, make sure you take Monty out of the country for a little bit. Don't ask him, tell him." Like I was thinking, like it came off to me that he had a setback, a dangerous setback, but a setback nonetheless, and he was going to be fine in a few weeks and back, running MTEX again. But as I watched episode twice, episode 9, and when I watched it the second time around, I did see a lot of foreshadowing on Monty's death. One instance, Tommy is talking to, I think, Nathan, because Nathan finds out that Monty's in the hospital, and Tommy says something to the effect, you know, look, Monty has stared death in the face plenty of times, but now he's blinking, you know. And when he said that, I was like, oh shit, maybe it is for real. Maybe it is this serious. And then I watched that Jerry Jones scene again, and Jerry Jones is getting teary-eyed. And I was like, well, maybe Jerry Jones is talking about his own mortality, or Jerry Jones knows that, damn, this is not his first time in the hospital with Monty. This is not his first time talking to him about this, and maybe he knows this could be the last time that he sees his friend. And then there's another instance, I believe episode 8, where Monty's asking the governor for a favor of like hiring the Texas, the National Guard to man that area, the border, so the cartel don't come. And the governor said something to the effect of like, we are like, God knows when our time is, you know, no matter how well we eat, no matter what we do. So when I went back and watched it the second time around, I was like, well, maybe that was foreshadowing to like let us know that Monty might not be long for this world.
Yeah, that's what I got from that too. When the governor's
chill.
When he's like, do they have you on like statins? And he's like, they've got me on like everything that you can have me on. So we're throughout this season, like we've seen that Cammy's telling him like, take your pill. We see him get agitated pretty much in every episode. He's getting some kind of agitation or chest pains. So it's just been building and building throughout this whole season. So even though sometimes he looks okay, I think the situation was more dire because he's on like all these heart medications and people ask him about it. And he's got like the watch that, you know, giving you like alerts when your blood pressure is getting too high. So I think like probably it was serious, and, you know, your 5th heart attack, I think that's pretty damn serious. And your 3rd bypass, like, I didn't even know they could do that many bypasses. So,
especially at a young age, he might be in his early 50s, maybe. That's crazy.
Probably 50s, yeah. Like I don't think he's in his 60s. So, and I don't know. Poor Monty, because it just, again, since I've been like binging Mad Men again, I'm like, that's what's gonna happen to you, Don Draper. So
Let's talk about the cartel problem and like where that's been left off at. So we know in episode 8, Monty is talking to the governor. By the way, Monty got pulled. Like he got Jerry Jones as a bestie. He has the governor in his back pocket. So pretty much he asked the governor, like, look man, like I'm having these issues. I'm acquiring land and like the cartels, they give me problems. He essentially asked the governor, look man, I need funding for the the Texas, is it the National Guard?
yeah, the National Guard.
He wants funding for the National Guard to pretty much operate alongside the border where his land is at. And essentially, he's like, look, I have 75,000 acres of land. They can do whatever. They can train. They can bomb. Just don't bomb the oil wells. I don't know, explosions. Just pretty much occupy the area so we can deter the cartel from coming through there. And the governor grants it. So Monty tells Tommy. Tommy meets with the coroner of that area. They have a handshake deal to like operate there and do what they want to do, what they do. And at the end of episode 8, we see the cartel again moving weight in an unmarked van, and the National Guard they're practicing. They're bombing the area. They're just training, right? And they bomb a cartel van, an unmarked van, and the colonel or the helicopter, and he's like, "Hey, is that a bogey? Like, what's going on down there?" And they kill
Is this
the
not part
person.
of the game?
Yeah, it's like they have no idea what's going on, right? And then beginning of episode 9, Tommy gets a call from the colonel, like, "Hey man, like there was somebody down there and somebody got killed." And like, and Tommy asked, can I get a description of what was down there? And he found out it's a cartel van. It looks like a bad thing. It looks like it's something that could really be bad, especially when the governor told Monty episode 4, like, "Hey man, make sure you keep my fucking names out of the papers. I don't want any of this shit getting back to me." But it looks like Tommy has it all figured out. Like, look, man, we'll clean. I'll have the cartel people come and clean up their shit. We're good to go. What was your thoughts when that happened? And so when episode 8 initially ended on that scene of the explosion of that death of the cartel dude in that van, what was your thoughts going to episode 9 of like the potential clusterfuck of what could happen?
Yeah, I thought there would be like more of that. Like, oh shit, it's gonna turn into like this whole big thing. But like Tommy's got the cartel guy on speed dial, so he just calls him and he's like, "Hey, go clean up your shit, or do you want me to report it to the sheriff and like make a big thing?" So, and also I think some of the cartel guys had also been watching Tommy and following Tommy. So cartel guy already wants to meet Tommy. People I think have been like watching him. So I'm scared for Tommy at this point. The cartel's not very happy with MTEX and especially with Tommy. So I don't know what's gonna happen in the next episode. I'm kind of scared for Tommy. And then is there then no more Tommy? And then is Landman season 2 all about Cooper being the Landman? I don't know. I'm all kinds of nervous.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, hell, they knocked up John Hamm already. Looks like so. I mean, it wouldn't be unseen if they knock off Billy Bob as well. Yeah, like that's a good point. You see the first notion of him being followed when Tommy goes to infiltrate his daughter from that party where she's about to get plowed by a high school quarterback, and she picks up his daughter, and like as they drive off, you see somebody following him, and like has like these night vision goggles, so it makes you wonder. And then when the cartel dude tells Tommy you've been followed, and I need you to get as soon as you get back in Fort Worth, we need to talk. So yeah, it looks like they know what time he lived. It looks like they know what his family looks like. All that. So it is going to get into nitty gritty. And I wonder how that affects Tommy as far as how he moves. Does he uproot his family? Does he tell him to go back to Fort Worth? Or I wonder what episode 10 is going to bring. moving forward with that.
Well, the cartel guy even is like, hey, I've heard that your boss may not be your boss for much longer. And saying like, I know, like,
you know that.
yeah, and he's like, I've got like pretty much saying like I've got eyes and spies everywhere. So you mentioned like they got rid of Monty. I'm like, what if the cartel got rid of Monty? What if, I don't know, this would be outlandish. Like there's somebody on the cartel's payroll at the hospital that could be like injecting things to make it be a heart attack, right? We don't know that was like also kind of threaten when he was like, hey, like I heard your boss may not be around much longer, which is like, yeah, we know that he's sick, but he also, the cartel guy also said that he's got people everywhere. So who knows? That would also be interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I mean, if the cartel is following him and keeping tabs on him, maybe they do have people, in place to like knock people off when they can. Because in episode 1, when Tommy's tied up in that little stash house, the cartel tells him, "Look, man, maybe we can go to war. I mean, I don't mind picking you guys one on one, and it's like a dick bitching contest between Tommy and the cartel dude. Like Tommy pretty much tells him, well, would you blow up your house in Mexico or whatever?" So, but the cartel dude doesn't seem scared. Like he doesn't mind flexing his muscles when he needs to as well. So that would definitely be interesting, man. And again, there's been no conclusion or no closure on the money that the cartel dude lost in episode 1. Like Tommy said, he's not going to pay, and from what I've heard, from what we've seen so far, there has been no resolution on that. That's still millions of dollars of like product that burned up in thin air and burned up in smoke, and maybe he is still holding Tommy on the hook for that. I don't know, but if Monty's out of the picture, I wonder who's going to be if. And that's another question too. If Monty is dead, last we saw Monty talking to Tommy, he promoted him to vice president. Tommy to vice president.
Did he tell anybody about that, or did he just think about it? Yeah, that was my thought too.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't tell anybody about that, and they move forward, and like Tommy's not promoted, what does that leave him? Even though Monty told him that he would promote him and Rebecca. So there's a lot of questions, man. Hopefully, episode 10 kind of answers a lot of that going to the finale.
I want to see more Cammy. Make Cammy take on the cartel, especially like Demi Moore just won like the Golden Globe for what is it, The Substance? I haven't seen it yet, but give her more screen time, please. Like she is great, and she's been great for a long time, and I was hoping for more of her in the show. So I hope at least episode 10 we again like get clarity on what happened to Monty. Is he really dead? Probably, but they need to confirm it. And then how does Cammy move forward? Does she become like the oil woman? That can be badass too, like a show about a woman running an oil company.
Well, that's what it's setting up to be. I was reading a lot of articles this season, and it's a hit show. Like it's going to be season 2 hit show, right? But if there's one criticism, like we talked about throughout the last couple of weeks, the women on the show and the lack of like quality roles for the women on the show, there was a lot of frustration with Demi Moore's character, like her not just being on air enough. Like, why is she here? Why do you have this name, this ilk of a caliber of actress on payroll? You're not going to use her. And episode 9 looks like they're setting up for Demi Moore to be a bigger part of the show in season 2. And if John Hamm is gone and she is the beneficiary of, if she inherits a company, we might get a lot more Demi Moore than we thought we ever could get. So that would be exciting. I mean, it will suck that John Hamm is gone, but I get it. I mean, for the story purposes, if you want to uplift that character, taking away the most powerful chip on the board, and Monty Miller, John Hamm's character might make the best sense for a blossoming role for Demi Moore in season 2.
That would be great. I would love that. We'll have to see what happens especially with Cooper and like his new oil company that he's getting off the ground.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's talk about Angela and Ainsley. This was there's one pocket of that they've taken over a hobby they're taking over is going to a nursing home. It's it's a silly storyline, but I can appreciate it for Angela's character. At least it's showing something as far as growth for her. Housewife, trophy wife. Now she's looking for purpose and going to the nursing home and helping out these young people, giving them entertainment. Even though as unorthodox as it is, she's brought a lot of life and hope to the old people in the nursing home, taking them out, taking them to the strip club, and taking them out to eat and getting them drunk. What is your thoughts about Ainsley and Angela's character with the nursing home angle?
I like that they're trying to show them having more substance by having them volunteer and like discover, right? And like Ainsley was like, didn't know what a nursing home was. She's like, what's that? And her mom had to explain it to her. And I'm like, you are 17, you're not 5. Like, you have heard of what a nursing home is before. Like, come on, like, let's not be so dense. So I'm glad that she is finding a purpose, but at some point I'm just like, oh my gosh, how much more ridiculous do you have to make it? Like, let's let all the old people have fun. Like, I am so down for that, but I don't know, I think Taylor just kind of, again, like, made it more ridiculous than it had to be. But I am glad that those old folks in that home are like getting some fun, but also like just like older actors, like that opportunity for them to like be extras in the show. I think like that's great. And I like that angle, right?
Yeah.
But at some point he's trying to make it seem like they discovered that you can like volunteer at nursing homes and make life better for older residents. And it's like, lots of people do that all the time, every day. I'm so glad that like you two nice affluent white women are discovering that you could volunteer at a nursing home. Like, thank you.
It's like you're trying to show like a human side while insulting the intelligence of these characters at the same time. I'm like, did you do
Yeah.
more harm like with this storyline more so than good? But yeah, I thought it was adorable, but I thought it was kind of silly as well, like how they encountered it and how they came about it and all. I think all that. Um, the last thing I want to talk about is Cooper. So I know we touched a little bit about like his plans to like become a an oil man, own his own business, and we talked about like him showing Ariana the map about the different parts of the Permian Basin and different regions of like what oil is dried up at, and well, there could be pockets of oil. Well, later on in episode 9, he approaches a man um, on his land, and he's the first. He's a landowner of land that, by all accounts, has been dried up. Oil patch has been dried up for the most part, and Cooper proposes the idea of like, look, man, like you think it's dried up, but I think if we go about it this way, if we drill it horizontally, we can find pockets, and I would love to work with you. And this is what made me fall in love even more with Cooper. So the landowner says, okay, well, I want 20%. Well, whatever you find. He's like, Cooper's like, no, man, no, 25%. That's fair.
25%.
I'm not going to show you 20%. And you can tell that landowner went from skepticism of this young 22-year-old coming on his land to like a healthy amount of respect. Like, all right, and maybe that was a landowner testing him to see if he was going to take advantage of him. But Cooper didn't even hesitate, and that's why I'm like, when I saw that scene and I saw that, okay, this man has his character and his integrity is on 1,000 right now. So whatever money he plans to do with his money or Ariana's money is for the best. He's looking to really make shrewd moves moving forward, and he got his first land deal. And
Yeah.
another episode. I mean, the episodes end that way, but you see a lot of like highlights for Cooper moving forward and his business acumen as well.
Good for you, Cooper. Yeah. It's like, I'm interested to see like season 2, how they pick up on that and how it progresses. And I like how the old man talked about, like, like, oh, an honest oil man. Like, I'm sure Cooper hasn't been the first one that like wants to start off by being honest, but then like as you have to start to grow, like how far do you get from where you started and like what your ideals were of like, I'm going to be like the honest oil man, and then like how far do you have to get? I think that would be interesting to explore. And also interesting to explore, like, we keep hearing that like Tommy was like on the brink of having it all and then he lost it. Like, I want to learn more about how he lost it and then like what happened immediately after, and like how then was he able to pick up the pieces and then kind of move on and work for Monty, who was probably his peer in the oil business and now it's his boss. So I want more of that backstory, and like maybe like Tommy does kind of impart that wisdom on Cooper. Like, yeah, like maybe we all started off trying to be like honest, and as we had to grow, like we had to be less honest until we get big enough and, then have 5 heart attacks.
I know it just seems like for Tommy, man, it seemed like, because this is like the third time we've heard his account of like him losing everything. You heard it when Angela was talking to Rebecca at the bar about how they lost everything, and then Monty mentions it to him, and then the governor mentions it to Monty about, hey man, I thought Tommy was gonna be that dude, and like he had everything, and then Monty's like, okay, he lost it. So it's whatever, however way he lost it, it seemed like he lost it in the grandest of fashion, it seems like. And it seemed like everybody knew about it. It seemed like it was a very public loss. Because when the governor's talking about it and when like other people are around the state are talking about it, that tells me that maybe he gambled too much. He gambled on red and he lost it all. But whatever it was very public, and on all accounts, probably very embarrassing for Tommy.
Yeah, and I would hate to like have people still talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, my greatest loss and you're still talking about it. Shut up. Yeah. Like, poor Tommy.
It's tough. It's tough. I hope they do talk about it more, and maybe in proxy that's why Cooper is so well equipped, because he saw the failings of his father, or probably was told by the failings of his father, and used that as a learning lesson to like make sure that he doesn't make the same mistakes. Maybe because it seemed like Cooper's very, very sharp, and it seemed like Cooper will probably have learned from his father's short givings when it came to what Tommy had and now to what he's lost.
Yep.
Is there anything you want to talk about for episode 7, 8, or 9?
No, I think we're good. I think we covered everything and excited for the finale next week.
Awesome. Well, again, thank y'all so much for joining us today, man. For those who have watched the show, we've got a lot of great coverage of our last few episodes. People are watching. Please, man, if you're watching, you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Please. It helps our numbers. And again, if you have any other shows that you want to talk about and you want to present to us, leave a comment, leave a message on us, and we'll definitely take it for account. Hashtag road to 500. We've been on 428 for a while now as far as subscribers. Let's get those numbers up, man. Like us, share our videos, our podcasts with all your friends and family. And check out social media pages as well. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a follow as well. We're on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and YouTube as well. So for myself, for Marcy, this is Landman 7, 8, and 9. We'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about the finale of episode 10.
Bye.